One global statesman, whose name I don't know if it's fair or proper to mention, because these are, even though it's been a long time, but these are really Chatham House rules kinds of meetings, said that Nigeria had become strategically irrelevant. He said that 20 years ago, no world power could venture into Africa without thinking for a minute how Nigeria would react. But that today, no world power would really bother if it was going to the next door neighbor of Nigeria's. So, very long introduction. Professor Bonaji Akinyemi, very kindly, how has our foreign policy evolved that has taken it from the point we started to where we now are?
Now, factors that affect changes in the foreign policy. One is the focus and the vision of leadership. The focus and vision of whoever is the head of state. Firstly, will be his ideological disposition. If he's conservative, like Balewa was, the foreign policy will reflect that conservative orientation. And that was what I meant earlier by saying, tell the ministry what you want done. And as bureaucrats, they will implement that. They may, if you seek their advice, they may very politely, very diplomatically let you know perhaps it will serve Nigeria's purpose better if you allow the policies to tilt this way. But the decision is taken by the head of state. So that's the first factor. Ideological disposition. The second factor, of course, is the health disposition. We have suffered almost in the past 12 years from heads of state who really could not focus properly on our foreign policy, the intricacies of the foreign policy. I was reading just 2 days ago a dispatch sent by the last British Governor General of Nigeria, Sir John Robertson. And something struck me there. He said Balewa was normally a very courteous, reserved personality who did not like to offend, but could be firm when he wanted to. But he said, as the circumstances of Nigerian domestic policies imposed on him, and the Ramadan fasting increased that extra pressure, that the prime minister became a totally different person, pugnacious, at times offensive, which normally he wasn't. Now, I said that as an example of what I meant by the health disposition. If you look at what happened to us under President Yar'Adua, a normally cautious and focused president. But as his health disintegrated, he lost that focus. And I give you just one illustration. I was a member of the Uwais Electoral Reform Committee. When we submitted our report to him, in his acceptance, he said, I accept your recommendations and I will implement this report. Now, as somebody who, if I can claim without being arrogant, had some experience with how governments deal with reports, I was taken aback by the fact that he will say he will accept and implement a report he hasn't read. And yet that's what he said. In fact, I thought maybe our chairman, Justice Uwais, had briefed him about what was in the report. But Justice Uwais assured me afterwards that he hadn't briefed him. And when I had the opportunity to meet with the president on another matter, I said, sir, it's unusual for government to pledge implementation of a report without reading that report. He said, I trust the caliber of the people on that panel. That's why I said so, and I mean it. I have now been told off the record, and this is the first time I will say this publicly because it's so many years have gone by.
Right.
The first time he then took the report to cabinet. I understand, I've been told that he told the cabinet, I've gone through this report and I accept the report and I intend to implement this report. He then asked for views of his cabinet members. Pat, you tell me what cabinet member is going to say, I disagree with you, Mr. President. None. It doesn't work that way. So everybody, everybody said, we agree. We agree. We agree. We support. We support. Good. Passed. Then I understand that that night, PDP movers and shakers, led by Anene, went to him and said, Mr. President, you can't accept this report. Look at this. This is the way we win elections.
Win elections,
You've
yes.
just given away all of this. This report was written by people who have never run in their life for any office. They don't have the practical experience. No, sir, this will not work. And the man was briefing me. He was very close to President Yar'Adua. Actually, President Yar'Adua fell asleep in the process of the confrontation with them. And when they then kept quiet, he who was there kind of nodded him that. So he said, okay, I'll take the report back to cabinet tomorrow, which he did. And he now told them that they should really tell him.
What's wrong with the report?
Honestly,
yes.
What's wrong with the report?
Yes.
And everybody rejected that report. And that's why till today, that report had not seen the light of day. However, 3 days ago or so, again, I'm using it as an illustration, short one. I understand the president signed a new police act. Now, one of our recommendations in order to safeguard security at election purposes was to give the IG security of tenure. We put it there, when it's appointed, you should say for how many years. And if you are then going to remove him, it should be with 2/3 of the vote of the Senate.
The Assembly.
And that 2/3 must include at least 10 votes from the opposition. Now, in the new Police Act, now they've given him a 4-year tenure, a fixed tenure. So the president cannot wake up one day into his second year and say, I'm firing, I'm changing the ID.
Yes.
So what has really happened is that they are taking, little bits and pieces of of the report.
Yes.
We recommended, by the way, proportional representation, so that women participation, representation can come close to the Beijing formula quota for it. So, but I've just given you one illustration of how the health of, the head of
the leader
state
can affect policy choice process.
The third is the personality disposition. And here I must be diplomatic. I mean, after all, you are talking about Nigerian foreign policy. If you have a president who is driven by ego, he's likely to do a few things which have relevance to your topic of today. The first is that if he wants to be recommended for the Nobel Peace Prize, he will be more interested in going around the world trying to please other heads of state without consideration for Nigerian national interests.
You're being very diplomatic, and I appreciate your diplomacy.
Thank you. Thank you. My grandchildren are still young. So that's the first thing that will happen, an ego trip. Second thing is, he may put in the ministry foreign ministers who are more like post offices. Carry this message here, carry that message here, rather than foreign ministers who could say, look, I need a policy paper on this particular issue, recommendations from your ministry on what we should do and how we should do it. No, he doesn't want to hear from the ministry. He has his own ideas. So the minister is just there to be a postmaster. Now that's not on. And this is why I said earlier that I pay tribute to the people who served with me. Ask them, and I know you have access to all the retired ones. They will tell you, I welcomed debate. I mean, we had a policy planning department. It was more like a seminar in a university. Even people could understand that I encouraged them to talk to their minister that way. And when I got to the ministry and they started, Your Excellency, I said, no, stop that. I was appointed on the radio. They will remove me on the radio. The only one thing they cannot take away from me is the title professor. I earned that. And that is why I insisted on just being called professor all through my tenure there in office. If you do that, you will get the best out of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But if I had gone there and said, I'm the minister, it is what I say that goes, I will be shortchanging Nigeria, and that will not be good for our national interests. So the fourth point is this competing subnational interests in the determination of foreign policy. How best to put this? I'd accept that Nigeria is a state of nationalities with interests that stretch north to the Sahara, your boundary with Cameroon and and your boundary with Benin Republic, Togo, all the way to Ghana. Not to talk, of course, about your relationship with the ocean. Laugh at that, because and Professor Biozor I'm happy it's on this
I'm
program.
going to get to him in a second to talk about precarious balancing.
Oh, thank you. You know, how far your economic exclusive zone goes, especially when you are a state with boundary with the ocean, is an extremely important issue under United Nations arena. Now, if I don't want to give you specific illustrations from my own experience about how if you don't balance the subnational interests carefully, you will shortchange Nigeria. I'm sure George, my brother,
especially about Israel and the Arabs and all of those kinds of issues.
Exactly. But please come home. Do you remember the competition over who becomes OAU Secretary General?
Ubu.
Amun said under whose regime that we had an Nigerian Secretary General who practically all heads of states wanted them confirmed, but Nigeria did not want him confirmed. And so we lost that post. I won't say more than that on that issue.
No, you're a diplomat and you should not.
So these are the factors that you've got to balance out. And if one of those factors goes astray, your foreign policy will go astray. So in conclusion, sir, I am not pessimistic, but I am concerned at the effect of cleavages on survival of the state. And the papers have been full of what I call cleavages in the past 1 week. Credible Nigerians have drawn attention to those cleavages. If you have no state, you will have no foreign policy. If your state continues to wobble, your foreign policy will continue to wobble. I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so very much. We're going to come back to you.